Hi, this is Pete Ekman with the RoboZone podcast. This is episode number 175. And we're going to have some fun with this because John and Kim aren't here. And when mom and dad are away, the kids will play. It's a joke. They'll get it. They'll watch it. They'll laugh at me. And then they'll text me with some choice words. And with that, let's introduce our interview panel for tonight. First off, we have Catherine Nelson. Welcome, Catherine.
Hello, good to see you.
Catherine, if people don't know you and we're introducing you, please introduce us exactly who you are and what team you're associated with.
So my name is Catherine Nelson. I am the lead mentor for Team 5090, the Trenton TorqueNados, who are part of the alliance that won the Michigan State Championships this year.
And we're going to introduce David. David, please introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm David Kaiser. I'm the lead build room mentor underneath Catherine there.
Now, we had the other parts of the winning alliance. There were some communication challenges, which everything comes when you have those things come out of that. Like you update your website, you update your social media, things happen. You know, we're just getting back to a more normal sense of things now that the first season after COVID's happened. So first of all, congratulations to both of you and your team and anyone that's out there listening about your big win in Michigan at the Michigan State Championships. I want to start that off right there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If people are just catching on, John and Kim aren't here. I usually make fun of John Wolford about 5 to 10 times an episode. So we will not disparage him and we'll save it and double up next week when we do that. I do have some information about summer camps from Kettering. We'll do that at the end. But we want to focus around you guys. Now, you guys reached back out to me. Thank you, Catherine, for reaching back out to me. I kind of tried to do as much as I could. And we got linked up a couple of weeks ago. And we're here. So I want to find out all about the TorqueNados. So, Catherine, can you give us a little bit of background about your team?
So our team's a little different than our alliance partners. We are only 6 years old. Prior to this season, we had never even been picked for the quarterfinals at the state level. So it was a huge, huge adjustment for us. Our story coming out of state champions is a lot different than the stories I heard from the last episode. So we're different there. We're a much smaller team. Really, we did not have the engineering design capabilities before David joined us a couple of years ago. 2020 would have been a great year for us, other than it got cut short. We did get to play one event, so that was great. And then really thanks to Dave and the amount of communication that was going on across Discord, we did a lot in the off season about creating. We knew we had to do a shooter, no matter what this year's game was going to be. Our team never shot well ever in the past, so we knew that was something that the kids were really going to have to work on. So we did a lot of CAD work, and Dave did a lot of discussion with them, and that's really how we kept the team together over the closure. Because then, besides COVID, our small town passed a huge bond issue, so there was all this improvement in the school, which means we got kicked out of our build room, and with 3 kids had to unpack it all and shift it over to a new room. So then when we got back together again, we couldn't build robots because we had to build a new build space. So
a lot of challenges.
We came into this season with a team about half the size of what we had in 2020. And so, as you learned, one of the casualties was the website, because quite frankly, we're not even sure where it's hosted right now.
Well, I can help. I can help with that. That's right down my alley. So maybe we can work together after this.
Great. Dave, do you want to say what your experience is with the team?
Oh, yeah. So I worked heavily with the team on like the engineering process. And a big part of this year was like, how do we iterate faster? You know, how do the students get their designs to a prototype to see if they even work quicker? And so we actually worked a lot with Woodhaven on kind of what prototyping methods they did. This was our first year for like West Coast Drive. We always had a kid apart, so we went to Woodhaven, saw their drivetrain and stuff, and also first time doing Java. Again, Woodhaven helped us out a lot. Our students kept coming to me, and I'm like, well, I kind of know a little bit. Let's go over there and see what they do. So yeah, big shout out to a couple of the other teams. I know Livonia helped us out with their CNC. We got CNC use for the first time from our wood shop, and a lot of first, I would say, for our team. So
a lot of let's give out some shout outs right out of the get-go. You're talking about the Livonia Warriors, right? Livonia?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
And the Goon Squad,
Yep.
former state champs. In fact, they were the defending champs. They were on my field. Great team. And I was telling Catherine prior to this, I'm from your area. I'm from Southgate. That's where I graduated high school.
Okay.
So it was good to see. I got to meet the Goon Squad. And I actually knew someone from the team that graduated 2 years ago because his mom and me went to high school together. So there was that bondship that is first and FRC across. So I'm glad you guys got help. That's what first is all about, is that help. And people have helped my team, the Electra Eagles, a lot of teams, Big Mo, everyone from the point where we started out, because we're young like you, and to this point where we won our first blue banner this year. You guys got the King blue banner, what I consider the King blue banner. Even worlds, I consider Michigan State Championships the ultimate goal for me, for my team. So you guys have one of those now, and I'm totally jealous. But thanks for giving us a little bit of input on the team. Now, when you said, and we always associate a number with years, right? Catherine, when you say 6 years, are you talking about 6 active years? Because a 50-90 team, I'm a 70-56 team, 70-50 series team. So we started in 2018. So what was the first year that you guys were around?
2016, I think, under Ed Newbecker, because Ed was the coach for 5 years before I became head coach.
Okay.
So Ed Newbecker started the team.
That
then
name
actually
rings a bell, actually, for some reason.
Yeah, his son Chuck Newbecker he announced a ton of games. Chuck is a great announcer, and we were really bummed that he wasn't on our field announcing at states.
Yes.
So
you said that 2020 was going to be a good year, right? Where did you did say you guys got to compete? Where did you guys compete at in 2020?
Southfield.
Okay.
It was a week 1 event.
Yep. Do you subscribe
strategically?
Yeah,
yes.
Go ahead. Sorry. Yeah.
Absolutely. Our team, we definitely just subscribe to the week 1. That's where we feel we're ready to go. And especially this year, if I had allowed David and those children in the build room to just keep building, they would have kept redoing and redoing. I mean, it's especially important now that there's no bag day. Like, that means really week 1 is bag day now, because you're just constantly, robots are never going to stop unless there's a bag day. So, for us to have a week 1, and then this year we went in and had a week 3 that gave us time to do upgrades to the robot, but then it gave us even more time for states to really make the most robust robot that we could. So that's an advantage to having the no bag day. The disadvantage is no team has ever done building.
This is true. And if we let it, nothing against engineers, we love you guys, and we'll get there, David. But if we let you run wild, we will never have a total robot together to take to a comp. So I'm the head coach, just like you are, Catherine. So we can speak head coach all day, because you got to rein them in, say this is the cutoff, and then move forward. And that's why I like week 1 events. We competed week 1 with you guys as well. So it is amazing. It is amazing. So and I subscribe everyone to that theory. Either week 1 or week 2, you got to have one of the two. So because if you don't do that, then you elongate and elongate and elongate and elongate, and the finish line's not there. And you got to get to that line so that you guys can pack the trolley and get to the comp. So, right.
Yeah. Our first competition, it was a lot of, Coach Nelson, we forgot this. Can you go back in the build room? I'm like, yeah, because you didn't leave time to pack because you were still building the robot.
Right. And sorry, we're beating on you, David, and you're taking the torch for all the engineers that are out there. We love you guys because we wouldn't have I'm not an engineer. Everyone knows that I'm an IT guy. But if we don't have our engineers, you know, we can't build robust robots. You can build a robot, but maybe not the most robustness. But someone's got to steer the ship, whatever, you know, horn on the train, whatever, you know, saying you want to use. So thanks for putting up with us as head coaches. Because
For sure.
so so you guys competed in Southfield. That's a good comp too. That's not an easy first comp either. So did you guys do that this year? Did you do week 1?
No, this year our first week was in Detroit.
Okay.
We did
Okay.
Detroit week 1.
I've never been to that
So,
comp. So what can you tell us a little bit what was like at that competition?
you know, the Detroit is a little different. The competition is not as fierce as it would be at the Southfield, but on the other side, it gave our students a look at what it is to help a team that doesn't have the resources that we do. Because while we don't have financial backing from our school, we are able to fundraise. So our students have a fairly good funding. But when you go and you are working with teams in the MES and they have, you know, 5 mentors spread across 10 teams, and maybe they all had every bots, but they weren't completed yet. And we went in and our kids were able to, we helped build bumpers for different teams. Even though we were beginning Java, we were going around and helping as many people with Java as we could. And then it went back the other way because we had mentors from other teams that remember the TorqueNados from prior seasons. And we're like, you guys were always super nice to us. And they helped us do some of our auto that we didn't have yet at the time. So the great thing about Detroit in particular is the amount of back and forth between teams and really getting every team ready to be on the field. And that is something that was really cool about Detroit.
Oh, it might be in my bag of maybe possible comps next year. Normally we go to Kettering, and I didn't go to Kettering. Yeah, I tried to work the system and tried to go all the way up to I forget it because they canceled it this year. It was all the way up in the mitten, right up in the top of the mitten, and they canceled it, and we ended up going and they moved it to Grand Rapids. So we went to a university this year for it, and it was a good week 1.
Saginaw Valley? No,
Not Saginaw
Grand
Valley.
Rapids would
It
be,
was
it's
I've got
Grand
First
Valley.
Fog. No, it wasn't Grand Valley either. It was the first time that this was at this facility. It'll come up as we talk, but it was the first time that Calvin University. That's it. See, it popped.
Yes.
We went to Calvin University. It was awesome because the stands, everyone sat in the top bowl of the stands, and the field and the pits were in the lower bowl. So you actually, everyone from a scouting perspective could see down in, and it was perfect for scouting. However, communication was hard because your phones wouldn't work, of course, because there's so much thing going on. So you'd see people shouting, you know, stuff down and in. But it was kind of cool. It was kind of like being at States, but not at States, if that makes sense, because you're in a Coliseum.
Yeah.
But it was amazing. Next year we want to go back to Kettering. I missed it. That there's nothing like a Kettering experience for that Kettering week 1 and 2s, or off season stuff.
We thought about Kettering because actually learning Java this year, one of our 2020 graduates is a student at Kettering, and he came back because it was his off semester, his internship semester in January, and he helped teach all of the programmers Java. And we have 3 kids enrolled now, 2 going next year. We've had graduates from Kettering, so we have a lot of Kettering connection. So we were trying to make it up there and couldn't. And then it was like Kettering or Detroit, and Detroit's so much closer for us that.
True. And you're self-funded like my team is, and money is real, right? Especially we'll get to that state championship piece, because that I don't even budget for that, because this is only second year we made it, and to come up with that money and then being able to house, and it's expensive. These, smaller teams like yours and mine, we don't have those big budgets, right? So if you go out to, I think someone posted it, and I don't promote Chief Delphi too much, but someone posted, hey, what's your budget? And some people was like, I thought the top I saw was the Hawaii team, which is like $690,000. I'm going to say that again, $690,000. And
I want to know who their sponsors are.
Well, I mean, they're landlocked, right? So there's a lot of, I think a lot of community, great for them that they can get that amount of money. I don't know what I would do with that amount of money. I'd build my own building, I think.
Yeah, for sure.
or a practice facility.
We would let Dave buy that land he wants and build us a pole barn.
Right.
And he'd still have $650,000 after that.
Yeah.
I mean, it is. So I don't think I asked, how big is your team total? Kids and then mentors.
Total, we have 24 kids and probably 10 mentors. So you're looking at about 34 people. For us, a season generally costs about 30,000, but we had reserves. And this year I let Dave go hog wild, and he was like, can we order this? And I said, sure, we can order this. So since we were trying so many things new,
yes,
we had to buy things we'd never had before. And we did end the season. I mean, we have savings anyway, but compared to what we fundraised, we did end up the season about $7,000 short of where we went into the season. So next year we'll have to do more fundraising to make that up, because I like to have a certain amount of cushion behind us.
So David, what did you guys invest? You said you went from the kit parts to the West Coast chassis, right?
Yes.
What else did you invest in for this year?
I guess a couple of years ago we went almost all Rev products. So then this year we didn't want to tear any robots apart, so we had to just basically reinvest everything, which is not cheap, obviously.
No.
The new Robo Rio 2, the new PDH, just really the whole electrical system was probably the most expensive part. But then you have one of the students designed a sprocket for our current system, right?
Okay.
We've got that water jetted. So just stuff like that, because we don't have certain sponsors to be able to do some of those things. A lot of Lexan.
Yeah. A lot.
Yes.
Well, because we switched chassis, technically we built 2 full chassis this year, because we built one in the preseason to learn how to do it, since we'd never done it, and then you build one for the competition robot. So really it's like this. We built 2 robots this year.
This is the first year we didn't build 2 robots. We actually just concentrated on one. So that was
the whole upper chassis is just the one.
Okay.
Yeah.
The second chassis we just throw about 100 and some pounds on, and then drivers can start driving early and practice. But yeah, they don't have the manipulators or none of that stuff, because that would definitely take up too much human resources than anything else to build.
Than anything else. Right. Yeah. And nothing against I love the kit parts chassis. I mean, for a game, depending on what the game is and depending what you guys want to do, that sometimes is the best. I mean, 2020 was probably the best use of a chassis like that, right? Because you had to go over those humps, and people drove the wheels off Swerve that year and took chunks out of their wheels. And there's teams out there like 2337 Clinton Bollinger, one of the guys that I always talk about. He showed me one of the wheels that had chunks out of it because of the little holes that the ball sat in. So, I mean, every year. And now that we're not going to, we'll talk about rapid recharge, right? Is it rapid recharge?
Yeah.
It's, I happen rapid react on my mind, but the new game.
Yeah.
Is I think everyone's saying that it's going to be a multi-tiered game, because Swerve's so prominent now, and it would lend itself not to be Swerve. I don't know what first is going to do, but
I don't know, because we saw so many every bots, and there's so many teams that are still rebuilding after 2 years of the pandemic.
Yes.
I'm not entirely sure that there's a lot of lower resource teams that are just not prepared for Swerve.
Oh,
know,
and yeah,
It
we
is
were.
something that
Yeah.
we're looking at over the summer to start looking into,
Mhm.
but there's, especially after being at Detroit week 1, there's a lot of teams that are just, they're not there, and it'll take a long time for them to get there.
It will, and I will be the validated point that people say don't wait to competition season before you do Swerve, because we did. We built a Swerve, but we didn't get to use it until comp season this year. We didn't use it in the off season, right? And if you guys want some information, or if there's a way I can help you guys, we're also a Java team. So if you guys decide to go Swerve in off season, I'd be more than happy to open the books and show you the code and all that stuff, and
Awesome.
tell you where we learned, what we learned from. And that's for any team that's out there that's listening to this or watching this. Swerve is a huge and a huge investment and a huge learning curve. And there are teams that helped us to get to the point where we are. But I had to make that choice because, one, I didn't know if we were going to have a season, right? And I had two, my driver and my operator are seniors, and they said, we want to do Swerve. And when you have that and you don't know what, COVID season's going to hit again, we had to throw something against the wall, and we made it. But it was a struggle, and it was a learning curve. So I'd be more than happy to help you guys or anyone else out there. Just reach out to me, and I'll share
that.
code. I have no problem sharing code, because that's how we all learn. So we talked about week 1, right? Where did you go for week? I think you said 3 is your second comp, right?
Yes.
Where were we? Were we in Livonia? Oh, good Lord, it was so long ago.
Yes, we
remember.
were in
Yes.
Livonia. Yep.
And how did that one go, David?
Yeah.
Yeah, that one went it went okay. Actually, there was the Intra Nerds went to that one as well, and we were out there tuning our Limelight, but we didn't really know what we were doing. And Intra Nerds were right there, and so we asked them for help, and they just came over and started showing us what we were doing wrong, which was awesome. And we always hope to pay it back, to some of those teams, and I'm glad we got to be on alliance with them at States, because they really are. Before the help, it would judder ever so often up to the top lights, and I'm sure a lot of teams had that issue. And after they showed us that we should change our RGB, it made everything so much smoother.
Yeah. And you got some familiarity with them, right? I mean, if you guys didn't work together at that comp, they may have not chosen you. I mean, there's multiple reasons why teams get chosen. And I firmly believe that interactions and relationships during the normal season, where you learn a team, because States is so competitive, is you have something, right? At least for the drive team and the drive coach, to have coaches sync together. And sometimes I think Kyle and Clinton can finish each other's sentences. I've known them for a long time, so they speak the same language, which is great to see that. And obviously they saw something in you and they picked you, and you guys have a blue banner sitting in your wall now that I'm jealous of. So
Yeah.
Congratulations.
And I will say that is one difference that we have with some other teams, is we don't put an adult in the role of drive coach.
Okay.
That is a student, and that's by design. So our drive coach was the Banana Man, which is how everybody learned him, is that the Banana Man would also be going around and figuring out game plays with the other team for each alliance before. So, Jonathan asked me his freshman year.
You're going to laugh at this,
Go ahead.
Catherine, right? I read the chat while we do these things, right? And Clinton told me, hey, the audio was off a little bit, so I fixed the audio, right? But, and I said, when I post the full episode, it'll have all the audio, nothing to worry about. His response to me was Chiquita Banana. I did not know what that meant until you just said it. I was like, oh, he's the banana guy, because I remember the banana guy at States. So it's full circle.
Yes.
So I hope Clinton's not driving and listening to this or watching this, because you'll, drive in the other
Yeah.
lane. But yeah, it's amazing. Now, I want to ask this question. You guys have a student as the drive coach. I am on the opposite side. I'm the drive coach for my team, and knowing the experiences that I've had, I'm somewhat, it's not impossible. I'm not totally closed off, but you have certain drive coaches that have very strong personalities, and they're not.
Yes.
It's not like if First made a rule that all drive coaches had to be students, then I would agree with it. But knowing some of the interactions I've had, even as a drive coach myself, as an adult in my 40s, and other drive coaches, not saying they purposely yelled at me, but it gets a little heated out there. I would not want my student to experience that directly. I would be hesitant because I want them to come back. Now I'm a very small team. I only had 11 kids this year.
Yeah.
I only have 8 next year. So
we only have 11 next year, and none of them are builders.
Well, you got Dave. David could teach it. If David could teach it,
I'll teach him. I'll teach him.
So tell me the reasoning behind the student as the drive coach. I really would love to listen to this.
So I'm coming to First not as an engineer. I'm coming to First as someone who I work for the Federal Reserve, and my job at the Federal Reserve is economic education. To me, First is all about education. Our drive team historically has worked out that it's all seniors. Now, after States, in 4 months, these kids all go to college, and they're expected to be adults suddenly. So it's a certain amount of disservice not putting them into leadership positions where they have to deal with people who may not agree with them. And there were times when Stephen, who is our driver, he was the blonde, was like, I don't want to work with that team because of their drive coach who is an adult and not behaving well. He's like, I don't want to deal with their team because he's screwing up, but yelling at someone else about the screw up and not taking responsibility, where that student tends to take more responsibility because they're in a leadership role and they're learning. So some years, does it work well? No, but quite frankly, the robot wasn't great those years, and there was communication problems between all of the kids.
Right.
Whether the student was the drive coach or not was not going to make or break our season one way or the other.
Okay.
This year, we had a drive team because they do have to try out. It's based on how well they drive. Our drive team this year happens to be 3 of the top 10 students in the entire senior class.
Okay.
They're going on to huge careers. They happen to be, because our senior class was all boys. 50% of our team is girls, and all of the girls in the senior class were on the build side, and they do all of the marketing and writing of grants. So they have their place and they're really important, but not a one of them wanted to be on a field. So you had Jonathan as the banana man. Tell me that wasn't learning and won't help him in years to come. He talked with everyone to the point he took a victory lap, and we're not done playing yet with a pickle jar.
Yeah. Well, now that you've thank you for sharing this. I really hope people listen to this and they take this to heart and take it back to their teams. If I had the same makeup as you, I would agree. As seniors, I think they need to be in leadership positions. My seniors were the section leads, right? For the build, electrical, coding, that type of thing. They are also my drivers, but I didn't have enough where I thought that drive coach. But I understand, and I would actually be open if I had that. And the people were mature, because I think you have to watch maturity too. Every child's different. Every child's different, so, and we have a lot of reserved children.
And it for sure is stressful too. So we actually had everybody that the human player included could all drive the robot, operate the robot, and also drive coach it. So I know the human player sometimes would swap out when it was maybe getting too stressful, or if he had to go for a day. We also did that because of COVID, right? We were afraid, especially at the beginning of the year, okay, we could just lose our entire drive team. You know, we need replacements for everybody. So everybody had to kind of learn all the parts, and we weren't afraid to like, especially swap out the drive coach if it was getting too stressful. Or, you know, if, and we would always like calm them down after the match for sure. And, but yeah, anytime I would see if there was yelling or whatever, I would try to step in, especially if I was there. Because, you know, that's, to me, that's not, you know, quite acceptable for another adult to be yelling at another team student. But
Yeah,
I think fortunately, I don't think it really happened to us.
no, I mean, there have been times when I'll go to Dave and be like, okay, you need to watch so-and-so, and sometimes it's interactions within our own mentors will get so hyped up about things, and I'll be the one standing back and go, wait, Dave, we need to like calm them down. And you know what the mentors are all thinking on one side, or maybe not what the kids need to hear right now. So
Yeah,
you know,
you have to be the
watch, pay
filter.
attention to, you know, and at that point, then I'm playing mom. I'm not really playing lead mentor. It's more like, okay, I could see them. And I've said it to Dave too, because he started talking about something with program, and I can see Eli going white, going, you want me to do what? I'm like,
Yeah.
wait a
Well,
minute, let him get his color back.
that's head mentor talk again, right, Catherine? Because I had mentors that if you would have, and this is not just this year, this is every year. I love my mentors, don't get me wrong, but they want to change everything because we had a bad match. I'm like, no, that is not what you do. And they go to the drive team, they go, what went wrong? What went wrong? And then the drive team, because they're children, they're still children, right? Even though they're seniors, they're still kids, right? You don't ask them right out of the get-go what went wrong, especially if they're reserved. They're going to take that as an attack. And I said, listen, guys, you need to leave the pits. And when we're done with the day, then we'll have a talk. We'll have a retrospective, and then we'll talk about if we need to make changes. But just because you lose one match or two matches, it doesn't matter. You have to look at everyone in the match. You know, you could have an alliance partner that failed. Right. We had an episode at Lansing where both robots that were with us died, and we ended up putting up 48 points by ourselves. And I said, that's not a failure. That is a success. You guys have to look at the and they're newer, you know, they're newer mentors. They're getting used to it. There's a acclimation period, but it's don't talk to them right out of the get-go. Let them cool down. Because every kid has every adult has a different way of taking a loss, and I don't like losses either. But you know, it's not the end of the day. And at the end of that whole Lansing thing, we won our first blue banners. I'm like, see, the process is the process. You have to let the process happen. Because if you don't put the processes in, it's anarchy. And Dave, I'm sure you understand as an engineer, you have your own processes, right?
Well, there's just a lot of motion down there, you know. You got to fit it in checks. Yeah. And that's actually why I loved working with Engineers and Rush, because they were just, after every match, they were just so calm, cool, collected. We worked incredibly well together. And just, there was no stress, I felt like, which if you don't have stress between the teams, then just everything just goes so much smoother, especially just on the alliance. It's just,
they kind of talked about that last week. I don't know if you guys caught that episode, but they talked a lot about the like kumbaya moments that you guys were all in a wave together on a surfboard. I'm just using the first thing that came to my mind. Same bus, you know, whatever. So we talked about week 1. We talked about your week 3, right? Now let's talk about state championship. And we talk about a lot of other things. It was great stuff. This is one of those, this is podcast where we can talk about anything we want. It's robots, but we're talking about robots. So let's talk about the state championship. Now, when was the last time had you ever been to a state championship? First question. Okay.
Let's see, 2014, I think they got to go as a rookie all-star, like, but not with the robot. And then we qualified with, they won chairman's one time.
Okay.
So they went for chairman's. The robot wasn't good. And then we went in 2019. No,
Okay.
2018. Was it your first year, Dave? Yeah,
Yes.
2018.
Yeah, love that game. Yep.
Based on, that one was based on our performance as a robot. And we went into that at like rank 147 out of 150 that got to go. So it's kind of a nice position to be in because there's not a huge expectation. Where this year, coming into it, I think we were seated, 58-ish? Am I remembering that right? In the state? It's like the highest we've ever ranked in the state. So the kids were just excited going in because we had never done that well before. So I think there was definitely more excitement and more pressure going into states this time for us than in the past.
And people that are not in the state of Michigan, because we talk a lot about the state of Michigan, although I like to have teams from all over the place come in, but it is where I compete, it is where I live. So it's the thing that I know the most, right? I've asked this question to anyone who competes in the state, because we have so many teams in the state. It's very rare when you have over 574 teams this year, you only have a third of them, or not even a third, go to the state championship. It's hard. It's hard.
Yeah.
And then to have worlds, right, the week after is just mind-blowing and stressful. I didn't qualify, so I didn't have to worry about that stress. But we would have turned it down anyways because it's cost, right? So go ahead.
Yeah, it's cost, and 60% of our team self-identifies as LGBTQ+. So cost-wise, we couldn't have done it. There's no way our school would have allowed me to get the money out of my account in 2 days. And that's like issues with financing at the school.
Sure.
But then I had a lot of kids who were not comfortable with the idea of going to Houston.
No, and that's you had made the right choice then. And then those teams that when competed and represented the state, they did it very well. We've talked to them in the past, a couple that were on championship, fields. But wrapping it back to states, what was your experience at states? I mean, we know the outcome, but what was it like, you guys going into it?
I think what for us set the tone is we went as a team Wednesday. So we were there before as a whole team before a lot of the teams. So that gave us kind of we stayed at the Bavarian Inn and gave us the inn to ourselves. So we kind of had our end of the year team event at the Bavarian Inn, and that was special for the kids. But when we went to the pits the next day, and the ABT Gators had pranked us and put little plastic gators all over our pits. I think they put 50 of them, because we had played in 2 alliances with them at both of our events. That set the tone for the entire rest of it. It's like, yeah, we're here to have fun. We have all of our friends here. The kids had made great friends with the Hackbots and then Goon Squad. And we had all of these teams here that we're just friends with. And so it was highly competitive, but it was really super friendly. And then to just be with that many people again, to be in an arena with more than 10 people, just that part of it was exciting. And then when we did well and you're winning, that helps too. Our first couple of matches were really rough just because of what part of it failed on us, Dave? Was it the Robo Rio?
Or we had a network switch fail, and actually, luckily the FTAs came because we didn't know what failed. We just know that we were disabled for over half the match, and they couldn't figure it out. And so they had, 3 or 4 FTAs watching our robot on the next match, and they happened to see the light through the Lexan go out, oh, it's the network switch. So we got really lucky that there, a lot of people were willing to help out and watch the robot on the field and try to see what was going on. But yeah, those were the first 2 matches of qualies. so that's rough when you started out like that. But yeah, we came back, fixed that issue, and then didn't really have much else. I know we broke off the chassis at one point. I tell people it's like battle bots out there. Once you get in the playoffs, like qualies, it's all calm. Like, yeah, people are scoring lots of points, but they're not really playing heavy defense. And then you get into playoffs and the defense is, I mean, they hit us so hard. It looked like the bumper came off, but it actually sheared 6 rib nuts, and the piece of our chassis had broken loose from the top and bottom T's. And one of the friction wheels had a plastic break through it. We didn't even notice it until after we came back. But that's just how hard that one hit was. They were actually going after Rush, but we got in their way and they just smacked the crap out of us.
It was. I know the standing joke is, as even as a head mentor, is that I have to tell everyone that I introduced this sport to that it is not battle bots. Right. But when you get into the playoffs, it very much is. In fact, we got hit so hard sideways that it sheared the brackets that were holding the battery in. And those were bolted into the chassis. So we got hit so hard, and you know, it was a good year for defense, and we kind of predicted that at the beginning of the year. But yeah, so
well,
nothing like
and for us never have playing at that level before.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Kyle told us that, oh, do you have ice packs for your motors? And we're like, ice packs for the motor? What is she talking? We're like, I don't think we're going to need these. I don't know what she's talking about. I ran to CVS anyway. I had to buy whole like first aid kits just to get the ice packs out of them so we could have them. And then sure enough, we needed them. It's like, that was one of those things that as a team that's never played at that level, like I would never have thought we needed ice packs for the robot. That's just,
yeah,
we had never gotten there before. So it was also those kinds of things that we learned from 27 and from, you know, the engine nerds that really were a help too. That, you know, thank goodness she said something, because we would not have known.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's life lessons, right? It's first life lessons or FRC life lessons is, and I'm sure you guys have written down everything where it failed. Oh well, we did a retrospective and said here. Let's never repeat these. The radio is one of them. Always have a spare radio ready, because you can just slap it in. I do have to hand it to First in Michigan and then First National and the FTAs. It was an amazing event. It was run very well. Especially for having as much time off. Everyone from the referees to the announcers. I mean, the announcers were liked out there, very energetic. And then the FTAs. It was an amazing states. So good job to them for doing that. And then you guys have had the stress of going into Alliance selection, getting chosen. Then you're going to play on one field, and then moving over to the championship field. I heard that things. Oh no, that was it. That was at Worlds, where they didn't even really have a chance to enjoy a field win. They had to move over to the next field to compete for the championship. So,
well, and see, that's where, like, for us, first just getting picked into Alliance, because, you know, Rush was seeded 1, so it went all the way around, and we're like, why is nobody first? None of the first 8 seeds picked each other, and that's rare that none of the first 8 pick each other. So then it's going back and forth, and as the head coach, I'm in my head going, okay, we're not going on any further. What can I do with the kids to make them happy? And they're like, okay, when we get back to the hotel, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. Like, how do I keep their spirits up to then come watch the finals tomorrow? What kids are going to flake and just want to go home? How many parents do I have here? I've got all this going on in my head. My daughter's sitting next to me and she's not saying anything, but she's watching them watch us. And like, why aren't they being picked yet? So when we finally got picked as that very last team to get on an Alliance, that was huge for us. The worst, I think, for us about going to that 4th field was the really long lunch break. We came back and my drive team was like, we need to start again. This is too long. Like, that hour and a half lunch break, as people were moving back and forth and getting the pits and they were tearing down fields and whatnot, they're like, this is too long. I'm losing it. Like they were in this groove and they were
Mhm.
going and the teams were all working together. And that long break, that's where my team started losing it on the sidelines. And I was like, prepping them and getting them hyped and whatnot, because that's where they were starting to like, this break is too long. It
Oh
wasn't
yeah.
having to play matches over and over, but play more matches. They're good for it. Like, you want to play it over again? Sure.
Well, it's and people don't understand this. And as a head coach, I explain this all the time. It's just like any other sport. You're just
Yeah.
using your mind more than muscle. Well, it's the biggest muscle in your body is your brain. But what I'm saying is you get into this groove and you're good and you're good and you're good. And it's just like icing the goalie, right? Or icing whatever, the kicker or whatever. It's the same. I know I'm using sports terms and people are going using other sports terms. We don't watch that stuff. I watch sports. But it's the same thing. It's getting into a groove and then having to stop and then try to restart again. But everyone has to do that as far as that
Yeah.
as that comp's concerned, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And I'm sure they do it, and I know they do it is so that they can reset the stage, reset the fields, and then the
Yeah.
stands for the
Oh,
people that are competing. So
the part of me that's an event planner, I'm totally getting it. All the logistics that are involved. That's where I'm the adult and I'm going, yeah, I understand they're getting people out so then they can let people back in so that the teams on the field are closer. Like, I get all that. And hey, we're not having 7 fire alarms, so we're good.
oh, you know what? We actually left before the fire alarm, so that didn't even it didn't even get us. We're like, fire alarm. We come back from lunch. What fire alarm? Everything's fine. What are you guys talking about?
Yeah.
So, but at least everyone's
That
safe.
was,
So
yeah.
well, is there anything else? I know you guys got the big trophy and you guys are now the defending, along with Rush and the Engineers, now the defending state champs until next year, where everyone will be gunning for you. Just joking. We all want to be there.
Pinch ourselves a little bit,
Yeah. So
Yeah.
what is the one, I'll ask this one. This will probably be a most difficult question I can ask you. What's the one moment that you'll take from this year and always remember it? Is there one certain, it doesn't have to be at states, but what is it?
For me,
Yes.
and I'm getting choked up. We have one teammate who, when he came onto our team, he couldn't look me in the face. Like, he would talk to my left toe, and he was very introverted and wouldn't speak. And when we had our team banquet, he was the 3rd kid to get up and talk without being asked, and gave a whole speech and looked everybody in the eye. It's like, that's the win.
Yes.
Winning states is often. And it was fun, and I wouldn't take that away for anything. But to me, the win is that kid that grew so much. It's the number of kids that I have that are getting full ride scholarships to college. It's that every single kid this year has a plan to move on. I don't have anybody saying I'm taking a gap year. Every kid is going on to college or a trade school coming out. Those are my wins as a coach. That we won the banner is awesome. It means that now we are suddenly starting an FTC team in the middle school that we've never had before. We have interest to get the FLL teams up and running. So yay, I have more admin stuff to do with the schools, but it's great that we have these. And quite frankly, it's scaring the heck out of me because I have no knowledge of FTC. So, those are all great and wonderful things that come out of states, going to the city council afterwards, going to the board of ed. Those are all great and wonderful, but it's seeing how those kids change in 4 years and what being part of a first team did for them is the real win.
We can get you some really good help for FTC, learning FTC. I know a guy. I know 2 guys that will bend over backwards to help you, Catherine. And I'll email them. I'll email you those names. So
I have a meeting with the principal at the middle school tomorrow. So.
Mark and Ed, they listen to this. I'm going to send her your contact information, so they'll reach out to you.
All right,
David, what's the one memory you'll take away from this year and always remember?
I think it goes back to like the students helping other students. We had a team next to us in week 1, and they were also at week 6, which we went to go help out at Woodhaven. And without asking or anything like that. And you know how week 1, you're all busy and you're kind of nervous about your own robot. We had a couple of the students that, I'd been, training for a long time, and like to see them go over and help another team and basically just pass that knowledge on and get them to actually score a point. I think we were probably more excited when they scored their first ball than we were when we scored our first ball. Just because we had tried to help them get to that point, which is just as special as us scoring ours. So
a lot of people are gonna listen to this and they may say, "Well, you guys won a state championship," but in my opinion, what you guys have both said is the most precious thing about this. Is it's not about winning. It's about helping each other, and it's about education. And it's about, you said it very well, Catherine. It's about making sure that these young students that are coming out of high school have a plan to do something, and trying to make sure that they have everything they need to do it. And that is what FRC is all about. At least that's my opinion. So I'd love to win a lot of stuff, but banners can be won and lost and such. But the kids that go on to be an example of your team is the most precious commodity, is students. Yeah. So, well, very well said.
And it's fun being known as the team that brings the party. That's fun too.
I'll ask that one off the record after we're done with the podcast.
Well, just between all the conga lines and banana men and running around.
Chiquita Banana running around with a jar of pickles or something of that nature.
Yeah. Well, it's nice to be known as the friendly team.
Yes. I'm going to use that one when I have any other new parents, and they say, "What's the strangest thing you see?" To get that guy dressed as Chiquita Banana running around with a jar of pickles in his hand. No judgment.
There's
it's
some
no
great
judgment
clips
zone.
on Reddit.
Oh yeah. Oh, Reddit. I'm not even going there.
Oh no, they've actually, some folks got some really good feed on it. So that's how I got to see it. So they were kind.
Good. I will take that as, I'm going to write that down. Kind and Reddit equals Reddit. They get so much bad press, but yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I want to thank both you guys for coming on board. I can't believe we've almost been talking for an hour, but this is what it's about. It's about talking about robots and the students and all that stuff. So thank both you guys for sharing your story for this year, and the story of the team, and me completing my trifecta of the winning alliance from Michigan State Championships. I greatly appreciate it.
You are welcome. Thank you for having us.
Oh, no problem. It's been a pleasure. So as you sign out, please tell us again your name, your position on your team, and then how we follow your team on social media. I'll let you go, Catherine, first.
Okay, so again, I'm Catherine Nelson. I am the lead mentor of the Trenton TorqueNados Team 5090. We are on Twitter, but we don't do direct messaging because it's student run. So we don't direct message the students that way, but you can also find us on Facebook most easily. And then also, if you are part of the Datara Robot Consortium, we can also be found through Datara.
Okay. And David, since she gave away the social media stuff, as you sign out, please tell us your name, your position on the team, and then what you think next year's game is going to be. I'm going to put you right on the hook because you're the engineer here.
Oh, okay. My name is David Kaiser. I'm the lead builder mentor for 5090. And I think next year's game probably going to be Frisbees.
Can't wait. I hope you're right. I hope you're right, David. I never got to compete with that one. I want to do it.
I have not either, so I'm pretty excited.
And it's not a ball.
I hope you're designing now.
Yeah. Please let it not be a football. Please don't. I don't want to deal with that. But thank you again, guys. I'm going to sign out. I'm going to send you some information, Catherine. Those two gentlemen, I'm going to volunteer them to help you. But they will reach out to you and they'll help out as much as possible. But congratulations again as the third alliance. Yep. And I know the Rush and Engine Nerds are listening. So congratulations, the trifecta, you guys, for winning the Michigan State Championships. And we'll look forward to see what you guys do next year. Okay.
Sounds good.
Great. Thank
All right.
you.
See ya.
Hey.
See ya.